January-Mae class. Just before we start our next lesson for maths, I'm just going to go over a few things that people may have struggled with in the previous lesson that came up in the live lesson or I've seen on Tapestry. So I'm just going to work through one or two of these with you before we start the actual lesson. Okay, so this was the independent task that we had to do in the previous lesson, and we were mostly focusing on our 11 and our 12 times table facts. And it is so important that we are learning our times tables at home. The quicker we are able to get these, the quicker it will be when we're answering these questions. Okay, a few of you had a problem with this question here about Ron using a bar model. So we've spoken through the bar models before, in that whatever's at the top one needs to equal the bottom one. So the top one says it's 84. And he says Ron uses a bar model to represent 84 divided by 12. But you can see at the bottom here, we've got 84 and we've divided it by 12, but we've got 12. We've got 1, 2, 3. So sorry, I'll just put dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 groups of 12, which we know that 12 times 12 doesn't equal 84, it equals 144. So already I can see Ron's mistake, is that he hasn't he said divide by 12, but he's got the incorrect numbers at the bottom. So when we are drawing a correct bar model, let me see if I can get my shape pen. Okay, so with the bar model, this one would have been 84. Let me draw it again. Oh, my drawing skills on my mouse aren't very good, but you can see your bar model there should match the one at the bottom. So if it is 84, which is the number that is at the top, if we are dividing it by 12, we are dividing it into 12 equal groups. Okay, so this is equal to 12 equal groups. The only issue with that is that it wouldn't be 12 in here. So we need to go through our 12 times table and see which times table gets us up to 84. So if I have, I'm just going to do it very roughly because it's a bit difficult to draw on this. And we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 12 equal groups there because it's 84 divided by 12. And if we were working it out, it's not going to be 12 in each group, because if we look through our times tables, we know that 84 divided by 12 is going to equal 7, because 7 times 12 is 84. So actually in this should be the number 7, not the number 12. Each one of these pieces will equal 7. Okay. It would have also have worked if you had written down, if you'd drawn your bar model and you'd drawn 7 equal pieces with 12 in each. So because 7 divided by 12 will equal 7. I mean, 84 divided by 12 will equal 7. 84 divided by 7 will equal 12. So the problem is that he had too many 12s here. We need 7 12s to make 84, or we need 12 7s to make 84. The other issue that you may have come into was the one where we were partitioning our numbers. So I'm just going to go back to this one to go through it quickly. Remember, if we have 11 or 12 times table, our 11 is made up of a 10 and a 1. The same way, if we go on to this page, our 12 is made up of a 10 and a 2. And our 10 times table and our 2 times table, or our 10 times table and our 1 times table, are times tables that we should already know very well. So we could partition the number. So if I had 11 times by 7, I could say 7 times by 10 and 7 times by 1. And then I would add those together. The same way as if we have 12, we partition it into 10 and 2. And if I said, well, the example there says 3 times 12, I would say 3 times by 10 and 3 times by 2. And then I would add the answer together. So hopefully that is helpful if you were getting a little bit stuck. Hello, May class. We're moving on to our second maths lesson today. So these are the arithmetic questions that you're going to start with. And as you can see, it is the inverse of the questions we did in the previous day. So these are division. So I'm going to read them to you. Make sure before we start that you have a pen and a piece of paper or a pencil or something to write with. If you've got your whiteboards and your whiteboard markers, fantastic. So if you don't have them, pause this video now, go and fetch them, and then come back and join us. So you should have questions 1 to 10 for the arithmetic. So let's get started. The first question is 22 divided by 11, 55 divided by 11, 88 divided by 11, 77 divided by 11, 11 divided by 11, 44 divided by 11, 33 divided by 11, 132 divided by 11, 121 divided by 11, 66 divided by 11. So write down these answers and you can upload them onto Tapestry. We will go through them in our live lesson, in the next live lesson, but make sure you have these answers written down somewhere. So in today's lesson, we will be looking at multiplying 3 numbers. We'll also be looking at choosing resources we need to be successful. So what do we need to make sure that we can answer all these questions? So our success criteria today, we're going to look at, I know that I can change the order of numbers when multiplying them. Right. So when we're multiplying 3 numbers together, there's something that we call the associative law. Say it with me. Associative law. Associative law. And I want you to think, what does the word associate mean? Give it a think if you've heard it before. Okay, so we're going to look at, it's a maths term called the associative law. Right. So when adding numbers together, it doesn't matter how we group the numbers. So it doesn't matter in what order we add these numbers together. If I have 6 plus 3 plus 4, I know if I add 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 4 is 13. But is it the same question, or is it the same answer if I have 6 and then I have 3 plus 4 plus 6? The answer is yes. If I have 3 plus 4, it gives me 7, and 7 plus 6 gives me 13. So even though I've moved my numbers around, it gives me the same answer. Right, so like this at the bottom says, 6 plus 3 plus 4 is equal to 6 plus 3 plus 4. So 9 plus 4 is the same as 6 plus 7, and both answers give us 13. So this is the associative law. So like we said, what does the word associate mean? It means it doesn't matter how we group them. It doesn't matter how they associate with each other. It doesn't matter if it's 6 plus 3 plus 4 or 6 plus 4 plus 3 or 4 plus 3 plus 6. It will always give you the same answer. So when multiplying, it doesn't matter how we group the numbers. And when I say group, I mean it doesn't matter what order I put those numbers in. So for example, and remember when we have brackets, it means that's what we do first. Okay, so that is the first part of the question that we do. So if I have 2 times 4 in my brackets and then times by 3, and it says it's equal to, so when we have the equal sign, the numbers on either side of the equal sign have to be the same because they are equal. Then I have 2 times, and then I've got 4 times 3. Okay, so let's work this out together. 2 times 4, the first bit, 2 times 4 I know is 8, and then it says 8 times by 3. So 8 times 3 I know is 8, 16, 24. Okay, so I know on the one side it should be 24. On the other side of the equal sign, it says 2 times by 4 times 3. So let's see. It's got the brackets around 4 times 3. So 4 times 3 is 4, 8, 12. Very good. So now that question says 2 times by 12, and the answer is 24. So I have now got 24 on either side. Okay. And you can see from the pictorial example underneath, 2 times 4 times 3 is the same as 2 times by 4 times 3. So remember, I'm going to do it over here for you. 2 times 4 would give me 8. So it's 8 times by 3 is equal to, remember, it has to be equal on either side, 2 times by, and then 4 times 3 we've worked out is 4, 8, 12. And if we work this out, 8 times 3 is 24. Is equal to 2 times 12, which is 24. So both sides of my equal sign are the same, which means my answer is correct. So I would like you to fill in the blanks of how to write this array. Remember, an array is the way that the counters are laid out equally. So it says one array, so the one at the top shows it shows us we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It shows us 6 times by, and there's 3 rows of 6, so 6 times by 3. And we know that 6 times 3 is 18, equal to 6, 12, 18. So we've got 18 here, and there are 2 of these arrays. The multiplication sorry. So there are 2 of these arrays. We can see there's one there and there's one there, and they are the same. So that question is going to say, so there are 2 of these arrays. So the multiplication shown is going to be 6 times by 3. And then so 6 times 3 and 6 times 3, there are 2 of those. So it would be 6 times by 3 times by 2. And what that essentially is asking us is then 6 times 3 we know is 18. So it would be 18 times by 2. That's what it's asking us. And if you work this out, 8 times 8 is 16. And 10 times 2 is 20. So the answer, if you add those together, should be 36. So take a moment and have a read of that if you are unsure. I'll go through it again. I'm reading through it again, but take a moment, pause, and see if you can understand how that's been worked out. So what it is saying, remember, is that one array, so if this is the first array, is showing 6 times by 3, because there's 3 rows of 6, and we know that 6 times 3 is 18. There are 2 of these arrays. There's the second one. It is the same amount. So in this array, we've got 18. In this array, we've got 18, because there are 2 lots of them. Okay. So there are 2 of these arrays. The multiplication shown then is 6 times by 3, which is that one, but it is 6 times by 3 times by 2, because it is showing 6 times 3 twice. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to have a go at these calculations. So the first array, so remember, read the question. It says the first set of arrays shows, so this is the first set of arrays. It shows a multiplication question, okay? And it is repeated. How many times is that array repeated? Okay, so you can see from the colors, how many times is it repeated? The multiplication shown is something times by the amount of times that you see the array. Okay. The second set of arrays shows, so we'll be looking at this one. So what is this array showing you? And it is repeated how many times? Okay, so give that a think. Right, so I'd like you to fill out that question. If there is an issue, we will be going through it obviously again in the live lesson. So don't worry if you are a bit confused, but I would like for you to have a go at it. I will talk through the first one for you, just in case it's a bit confusing. I'm not going to give you the answers because I would like you to use your multiplication knowledge to do that, but just so we are a bit clearer on what it needs to be doing. So the first set of arrays shows, so this is the first set. It says, it shows something times something, and I can see that it's going to be 3 times by 2. And it is repeated 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So the multiplication shown is 3 times by 2 times by 4. Right? And then it asks you to break it down. So you're going to work out the first bit. It says 3 times by 2 gives you an answer. And that answer times by 4, because we see it 4 times, will give you an answer. And then it says, so 3 times by 2 times by 4 gives me an answer. So pause the video now and work out the answer to these 2 questions. Right, using, you can either do this pictorially, or if you have some things in the house that you can do, you can even draw some counters. So if you can draw some counters, that might help you. I would suggest drawing them in an array. So I will do the first one with you to help you, and then I would like you to complete B, C, D, and E. So it says 2 times 3 times 2. So I'm going to say it's got 2, and it says times 3, so it's 3 times. So I'm going to draw my array. So 2 times by 3, and it says times by 2, because that array is then repeated. So I'm going to repeat it again. Okay, so we have got 2 times 3 times 2, and I can see that 2 times by 3 gives me 6, and then 6 times by 2 gives me 12. So the answer to this question where you're multiplying 3 numbers is 12, because it is 2 times by 3, which I work out first, and then I times that answer by 2. So please have a go at the next questions. Right. In the next question, it says, Ellie is asked to work out the calculation 5 times by 6 times by 2. Which way round do you think she should multiply the numbers? And I want you to think about why we should do it that way. Go back to the beginning of our lesson where we said that there was an associative law. It doesn't matter what order you put these numbers in, okay? The only thing that matters is obviously that you have all 3 numbers. And then what would make it easier? What should you work out first that would help you to get the answer? So pause the video now and give a think to that and see which way around you would work it out. And then I will talk through it with you. Okay, hopefully you've worked that out. If I have a look at these numbers, I can see, using my multiplication knowledge, that we've got 5 times by 6 times by 2. Okay, we know that the easiest times table to work with is 10, and I know that 5 times by 2 will give me 10. So if I say 5 times by 2 times by 6, because we need all 3 numbers, that's the way I'm going to work it out. Using my associative law, I know that 5 times 6 times 2 will still give me the same answer as 5 times 2 times 6. So if we work this out, 5 times 2 we know is 10. And now my question says 10 times by 6. And I know from my multiplication that 10 times by 6 gives me 60. Very good. And just to show you the associative law, if you did it a slightly different way, if we kept it as 5 times by 6 times by 2, we can see 5 times 6 will give me 30. And if I times that by 2, it gives me 60. You can see that the answers are the same. I've just moved around my numbers so that with the associative law, it says that they will give you the same answer. And the question said why you think this. I mean, sorry. You can see from this that actually the numbers I've made it easier by using 5 times 2 because it gives me 10, and then I just need to work with my 10 times table. We could have also done 2 times 6, which would have given me 12, and then 12 times 5, which would have also then given me 60. So here are some more that you can do. Choose the order you want to work these out. So just like I did reshuffling the numbers, I would like you to work these out. And then see if you can find someone to chat to. If you don't, that's okay. We will be discussing these again, like I said, in the live lesson, and work out the questions that I'm giving. Is there an easier way to do it with what you work out first? Is there a 10 that you could maybe make? Is it easier to use your 5 first? So pause the video now and work these ones out. Right. Once you have done that, you can get on with your independent work. I will read through the questions with you, but make sure that you are laying your work out neatly and that it is neatly numbered so that I can see it. So Tommy is making arrays using counters. You can see his arrays. Complete the multiplications. Use your answer in the first part to complete the multiplication that's down at the bottom. And that's what we've just been working through about moving our arrays, looking at how many is in one array. And then if there's 3 of the same arrays, how does that change the answer of the total amount of counters in the array? Okay, question 2, complete the multiplication. That's what we've been doing in the last slide. So finishing timesing those 3 numbers together. You can change the order of the numbers around if you need to make it easier for yourself, because obviously using the associative law, we know that it doesn't really matter which way they are. Question 3, here are some digit cards. So we've got 3, 5, and 6. Using the digit cards, create multiplication questions using all 3 of them and work out the answer. So you can shuffle them around. You will have different multiplication questions. Do they give you the same answer? You tell me. How many different multiplications can you create? What do you notice about all your answers? And then the last question, Kim rolls 3 6-sided dice. The product of her number is 60. So that product means the answer to the multiplication question. How many different ways could Kim have made 60? Talk about it with a partner, or talk if you need to talk to someone. If your adult is free, you can talk to them. If you've got a sibling at home, talk to them. If you don't, that's okay. You don't need to talk to them, and just see how many different ways you can make 60 using 3 different numbers on a dice. And remember that a dice only goes up to a certain amount. So give that a think. Roll 3 dice if you have dice at home, and find the product of the number you roll. Remember, when you are doing the last question, that a dice only has 6 sides. It only goes up to 6. So you should pay careful attention when you're looking at question B about what numbers you would need to times together to make 60. If you don't have dice at home to find a product, I want you to think of 3 numbers between 1 and 6 and find the product of just any random 3 numbers. You can ask someone to give you 3 numbers between 1 and 6, and then you can times those together and see what answer, the product of your answer, so what answer you get. Please keep sharing your work on Tapestry. It's been lovely to see that some of you have been working really, really hard. And we will be having obviously live lessons to talk through this if there is anything that you didn't understand today. So please make sure you are logging onto those. If you have any issues, please let us know. You can, your adults can email us on the year group email, or you can leave us a message on Tapestry, and we'll try and help as best we can.